Welcome to Coffee Break with Rachel Vigil, taking a daily look at the biggest stories in Denver sports and interacting live with you, the Coffee Break fam. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of joe, and enjoy your coffee break. Here's your host, Rachel Vigil.
Broncos training camp continuing to roll on, but the big news coming out this morning is that the Broncos will be releasing safety Caden Sterns. Not a huge surprise. I kind of had PJ Locke one step above Caden Sterns when we looked at the depth charts, obviously coming back from injury, but it's a Merilatt Monday, and Caden Sterns is gone. How you feeling?
Well, I'm good. I'm a little surprised by this news. Surprised that it came this early in camp.
We'll get into that.
Before we even had a game and all the rest of it. I mean, Caden Sterns has been the heir apparent to Kareem Jackson, I feel like, since they drafted him. It was like it was going to be Justin Simmons and Caden Sterns. Yep. This year he breaks through. To the point last year, they introduced 12 starters for the first game because they did the defense, and they did 3 safeties. They did Justin Simmons, Caden Sterns, and Kareem Jackson. So it's like he was that guy, and now he's not even in the mix at all.
The timing's very strange.
It's odd. Now, I will say, like, it's a name I hadn't heard all camp.
Yep.
Haven't been down. We've both been down there a lot. Haven't seen him make plays or do anything. Like, I see PJ Locke all over the place, and he's out there with the ones. And, you know, it is him and Brandon Jones. Those are the starters. It feels like that is just now, especially just entrenched of what it's going to be. But it's like, who's behind those guys? Like, it starts to get pretty thin. So I was surprised by that news today, just because I always felt like he was the future at that position.
Yep.
And the future never arrived, and all of a sudden it's the past. Like, how did that happen?
Well, and that makes me wonder, what did Sean Payton not see or see from other guys that he was like, yep, during the middle of camp, we'll let you go. Like, we're just going to really let you go fly.
Yeah. And you know, I'm trying to do the thought process here of like, is there somebody they need to bring off the PUP and they needed the roster spot, so they had to make a move? Like, it feels like there's another transaction to go with it.
Is there a phone call to be made?
Maybe.
Can get into that.
There's a pretty good safety, you know, just hanging out at the driving range here in town.
He sure knows
that is available.
Training camp, the facilities. Maybe you don't have to pay him as much.
But if you brought in back Justin Simmons, right? He's coming back as a starter.
Yep.
Who's he starting over?
Well, let's be real. Once you start with a hamstring, there's no way you're going to stay healthy the entire season with your hamstring. And Brandon Jones out with a hamstring right now.
True. Which also makes this move strange.
Agreed.
But I mean, you're right. We should all know from Greg Dulcich, a hammy is going to last all year.
Yep.
But we assume Brandon Jones is coming back.
Yeah.
We assume. I mean, they signed him as a free agent. He and Josh Reynolds are probably their 2 biggest free agent signings.
Yep.
Like, he's the guy, and it's replacing Justin Simmons, and PJ is replacing Kareem as he did last year. He actually played better than Kareem a year ago when Kareem kept getting suspended.
Totally agree.
So it's like, those are the 2 starters. You bring in Justin Simmons and you bench your biggest free agent acquisition. I don't know. It's a strange situation in the defensive backfield right now.
Sean Payton's only doing something for one reason. Like, he's clearly got a plan in the back of his head for some reason of how he wants this to all play out. But it's just the timing is what makes it so strange. So I'm with you.
I think we give Sean Payton way too much credit.
Just
like that he's got this, like he's playing chess.
I mean,
and we're all playing checkers. Like, based on what? Like, he's just this Machiavellian guy with this. He's got a plan to it. Like, really? Or he just woke up today in a bad mood and was like, moving on from that guy.
said something and pissed me off.
Cutting somebody, I'm cutting him. Time to send a message. Like, I don't know. Like, is everything just strategic with him?
I mean, don't you think there's a process of like the coaches are like, hey, yeah, he's not there. And then it goes to Sean, and Sean's like, yeah, we didn't see enough.
I don't know.
There's no way Sean Payton wakes up and he's like, you're gone. See ya.
Like this whole, everybody's talking about how he's just manipulating everybody with this quarterback thing and it's all this grand plan, or is it just a chaotic mess? Maybe.
I mean, it's down to 2 quarterbacks.
Or not officially, because Sean won't tell us, because he's got this strategy and he's just keeping us all on our toes.
When was Zach Wilson last with the ones?
Fine.
It's been like a week.
Fine. But then, like, the first day of training camp when he comes in and he's salty and he's jumping on everybody, that's to send a message. Or he just was in a bad mood and was being a jerk.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
I mean, it could have just been that, but no, it's boy, Sean, he's really got it all figured out.
Okay,
I'm tired of this narrative.
Okay, real quick before we jump onto your column for the day, do you want Justin Simmons to come back?
No.
You're done with it?
And I like Justin Simmons as a player. He was really good. I never thought he was great.
Yeah.
We were discussing that, I feel like, for years because they kept franchise tagging him. It's like, is he going to get a big deal?
Yeah.
And they finally did, but it's like he was never an elite safety. He wasn't Ed Reed. He wasn't Buda Baker. He wasn't Honey Badger, where it's just like, feel like there's 3 of them on the field because he's everywhere.
He had more interceptions in a season than Honey Badger.
And he, honestly, the last couple of years, he's been better.
He's been really good.
He made the game-saving play in London against the Jaguars. If he doesn't get that pick on Trevor Lawrence at the goal line and they fall behind 14-0, that thing's probably over.
Isn't it crazy, though? That play probably changed everything about last season.
Well, and it's, he's picked off Patrick Mahomes more than anybody else. So that's something, that this team could certainly use.
Next to.
So but he also has just been he's been one of the best players during a stretch of Broncos football that has been as bad as anything in the last 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you kind of do just want to purge all that.
That's kind of fair.
I mean, really, who's left? Bulls?
Yeah.
That's about it, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
That's been around for most of that. If you think about it, like, McManus is gone. Kareem is gone.
Yeah.
Justin Simmons is gone. I guess Cortland has been a part of it. Would it break my heart if Cortland Sutton wasn't here? No. Because he's a really good player, too, but he's not great.
Yeah, no, agreed.
So, no, I think the Justin Simmons, you can cross the same river. It's never the same water.
Yep. Also, exciting news. I always love when our group text goes off during the shows. I'm like, what's going on? Rosarique has been reinstated following a year-long suspension for violating the NFL gambling policy. We kind of already knew this because Sean Payne had alluded to it, but now he's back officially.
I have a major issue with this.
Oh, God.
A major issue. Now, and it may
Trey laugh behind the scenes.
It may just be that I just finished watching the Pete Rose documentary on HBO.
Oh, okay.
Which is fascinating.
Must watch
called Charlie Hustle. It's really, really good. And it's been nearly 40 years and he's still suspended. Now, do I think Pete Rose should be let back in now? Sure. But he violated the cardinal rule. It's in every locker room, whether it's at the practice facility, at the stadium. Yeah. You're not allowed to gamble at all, let alone on your sport, let alone on your team. It undermines the integrity of the game, is what we're watching as fans on the up and up. Or is this guy, in Pete Rose's example, even if you're betting on your team to win, are you bringing out your closer for a 4th straight day because you're trying to win instead of giving him his scheduled day of rest? Like, it impacts the decisions you make. Rosarique, was easy for me to say, was betting on his team.
Yes.
And he's back in a year?
So you think they should follow, like the NBA should follow essentially what they did with Jonte Porter?
Yes,
and they're like, you're done.
You're out.
But
one strike and you're out. Everybody knows the rule. And this is a 0 tolerance type of a rule.
Yeah.
I mean, I have friends who work for the team. They're not a coach. They have nothing to do with what's going on in the game.
They can't touch it.
No, they can't even go to a casino.
Yeah. Oh, damn.
It's like, that's how serious they take it. But then this guy is betting on his team.
But don't you think it's because all of the like allegations and stuff came back like that it didn't happen or some? I don't know.
Well, what ended up happening was it all goes back to Iowa and when he was at Iowa State.
Yeah. But even Arapahoe County down here.
In my understanding is a lot of the findings, the case in Iowa got thrown out because legal technicality, right? The way they were using geofencing to track where the people were on their cell phone, not geofencing, but geolocating. Yeah. They didn't have the right warrant or whatever, so it got tossed. Didn't mean it didn't happen. It just was like a legal technicality.
Is that really why they?
Yeah. And then so Arapahoe County was like, well, if it got thrown out in Iowa, it's going to get thrown out here. Let's just okay. Nobody has said he didn't bet on the Broncos while a member of the team. I just think it's a 0 tolerance thing. Like, you can't have that at all.
Yeah.
It turns into Tim Donaghy where like, are these games going a certain direction?
Well, and people already are like, the NFL is rigged. The NFL is rigged.
Right.
So could you
and they're
imagine?
letting a guy back in. Like the Calvin Ridley one is different because he was injured for the entire year.
Yeah.
He was betting on other teams. Like, still probably shouldn't be doing it.
Agreed.
But they let him back in. That's different than an active player betting on a game he played in. Like, I just don't understand how this is even remotely a conversation.
Sometimes I just really hate when you talk because I'm like totally fan of something and I'm like, shit.
What would prevent somebody else from just doing what he did? Like,
but I mean, that's true.
He came back after a year.
You missed out on millions of dollars because you had to sit.
But it's a year and you're back and you got a chance to earn millions of dollars again. If you were out of the league and you blew your opportunity to be an NFL player for good, you would think twice about it. Like, the punishment's got to fit the crime. And this is, listen, I get it that other things in real life are much, much worse than what he did.
Yes.
But in terms of sports and the integrity of the game, this is the cardinal sin. It just is. You can't allow it at all. I don't understand what the league's doing here. I don't. It makes no sense to me.
I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about this now. It kind of bamboozled me a little bit.
Is that the first time you've cussed on this show?
Probably. I mean, really? That's going to be the word? And everyone's like, oh, Rachel. I'm trying to think if I've dropped any others. I feel like there was one time I dropped like a darn it.
All right. Well, I'm glad I got it. Got you that fired up about it.
Over like gambling. There's a lot of other things.
It's breaking news. We're reacting to it live. So.
I know. You're not wrong. I feel like a little bamboozled now of like, I didn't really care about it. And then you sit here and you talk about it and I'm like, well, crap. Maybe
I just am very passionate about that. And like, I've always thought Pete Rose should be suspended. There is a time, like if they reinstated him now, he's not coming back to play. Obviously, he's not coming back to manage.
Yes.
Okay. He's paid his price.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. You can let him back in. I'm not that vindictive about it. But like, no, that guy should never play another down in the NFL.
Family members should not be able to bet then?
No. You know what else these guys shouldn't do? They shouldn't be allowed to play fantasy football.
Okay.
If you're Pat Surtain and you're in some high dollar fantasy league and you've got Justin Jefferson on your team and you're covering Justin Jefferson, do you accidentally slip and let JJ get a touchdown? How in the world is this stuff allowed?
Do we even know that they actually play fantasy football?
Yeah.
Really?
We'll see like the guys tweeting about their teams and all the rest of that stuff. It's like, it's crazy to me.
Okay. Well, we'll move on now before I drop another curse word.
Okay.
Training camp. I was not out there Friday. You were out there Friday. I know you were hosting. So you don't get to see a ton with where the media sits in the tent. But anything you noticed?
Well, I do think Bo Nix is starting to look more like the part. He is.
QB number 1.
He just should be like, let's just do it. This tells you kind of where the offense is, though. The highlight of the day was a incomplete pass to Cortland Sutton. Now he caught it. It was a long ball, but he was out of bounds.
Oh, okay.
So technically it's incomplete pass.
But the crowd still cheered. Everybody gets
excited. It was
excited.
a highlight.
Yeah.
But this offense just isn't generating much, just not a lot going on.
Yeah.
At the end of practice on Friday, though, they were doing a situational thing. It was like move the ball at the end of the half, trying to get down into field goal range.
Yeah.
And they were able to do it. They were effective. Both quarterbacks were. So there were some signs of life. But yeah, it just was another couple of days where it's like, man, they don't get a lot done.
Man, they look boring out there.
It's just a lot of standing around.
Really.
And
practices
stretching.
are hard. I give it to the fans because there is not a lot going on and they are in the sun and it is hot and it is brutal out there and you just wait. I give it to them.
Yeah, no, there was, and by the time some of the good stuff happened at the end, the hill had pretty well cleared out because it was so hot.
Yep.
They had baked there for so long.
Yeah.
So it's it's just a team that there's not a lot going on. There's not a lot of star power. There's not a lot of highlights. There's no drama, seemingly. That's good.
True. We've seen a few fights, but
man, there's just that from a headline standpoint, it's a tough one to find.
So what all the national reporters are writing about how things are super exciting down here at Broncos Park. You're calling that a load of BS?
I'm calling balderdash. Yeah. I'm so, not to just pick on these two, but I'm listening to the Scoop City podcast. That's Diana Rossini and Chase Daniel was on, and they're talking about, what's going on at Broncos camp. And now it's so much more competitive this year.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much more intensity and it's just brutal. It's a grueling practice. And I'm like, what the heck are you watching? Oh, well, you're not because you weren't here.
Yep.
So somebody's telling you that, which I get. We all go off of reports.
100%.
But you're not getting that from us, right? Like nobody who watches the practices would ever say that. Nobody who's being objective about it.
Yes.
So it's coming from somebody in the building who has a narrative that they want to get out. It sounds very much like it's Sean Payton of, hey, boy, he's a Bill Parcells guy and he's getting back to running a Bill Parcells training camp.
Yeah.
No, it's not at all. It's not even close to that. And then it's the, Bo Nix is looking really good. And, the biggest thing is he's able to get him in and out of the huddle. And, they get
when
the
we've
play
watched
calls
them
in.
reset and have to do it like multiple times out of camp.
And they're not having pre-snap penalties. It's like, I was there the day Ben Powers jumped off sides twice. So like, this is just factually incorrect.
Yeah.
And nobody actually witnessed that. Like, Rachel, we've all been there every practice last year, almost every practice this year. I don't remember last year all of us standing around going, boy, they just can't get the plays in. Like, it happened during the season, but we didn't notice it in training camp.
No.
And nobody this year has been down there going, they got their operation dialed in. It's not happening.
Snappy.
So like, it's just a narrative that the team wants to have out.
Mm-hmm.
But then it begs the question of, well, why? Like, we're not hearing that Bo Nix looks great because, man, the guy can make all the throws.
Yeah.
Better arm than we thought. Or, geez, he is mobile. Like, he can really make some plays with his feet and keep plays alive. Or, what a great leader. We're hearing he can call the plays in the huddle right.
The rookie QB, look at him.
I don't know. It was an eye roll podcast for me to listen to. Just because, again, I'm there witnessing it with my own eyes, and this is exactly not what's happening.
Which I will give credit to James. If you have not read his article, denversports.com, go do it. It's a very nice written article. And it is funny because I didn't actually hear the podcast. I was kind of MIA this weekend, so I haven't heard anything on it. But it's true. But it also puts in the stock of why the heck do we listen so much to national reporters when we know, James, that most of the time they're getting it from somebody inside the front office.
Yeah, who has an agenda.
Why are we doing that?
I get that they have an agenda. But it's also like, I'm going to point it out.
Yeah.
When, you're telling me the sky is red and I know the sky is blue. I just think we shouldn't take all this stuff at face value. Use your own eyes, use your own brain, use your own ears.
Go out to
and
Broncos.
That is not what we've seen, what we've heard, or what we thought while we were down there. But now you're going to start hearing it getting repeated, right? Like, Adam Troutman came out and said, "Oh, this practice has been brutal." And now I guarantee you locally, you'll start to hear that. Like, yeah, these practices are grueling. It's like, for 2 weeks, nobody said that.
Yeah.
We've never sat up there one time and thought, man, like the gassers they run at the end of practice are
I was just about to bring
laughable. Laughable.
I remember, like, when I played soccer or basketball, like, we did it for like 30 minutes. And they do like 4 runs, and you're like, oh.
They make it sound like 3 or 4 guys are vomiting all over the field because they just can't do it.
I miss those days.
That's a hard practice.
Agreed.
I'm not saying that that's what you should do, but like, if I saw that, it was like, and we were up there watching practice, like, okay, we're taking bets on who's going to puke today. Fine. I'll buy that this is a grueling practice. It's not.
I miss the 2-a-days. I don't know. There was something about training camp just being so intense, of the 2-a-days and everything. And then I miss, people like throwing up. I know that sounds bad, but it was like, okay, training camp is supposed to be rough. Trey's over here because he's played football and he's like, shut up, you guys. Those practices are horrible.
It's not fun to go through, but like, training camp used to be in Greeley for 6 weeks and they did 2-a-days.
Yeah.
This Shangri-La nonsense.
And you hear former players all the time talk about how, like, oh, the NFL's gotten so
and
much
it's
easier.
Not guys just being like, hey, I used to have to walk to school uphill both ways in the snow. It's not. It was different back then. Like, the CBA has changed how they can even do practices.
Yeah.
But to act like Sean Payton is just, Vince Lombardi meets Bear Bryant out there.
Yeah.
It's an eye roll.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to ask Trey all about his time in the football camp and those training camps. But to all of you hanging out with us in the comments, thank you. As always, we'll be back tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., Denver Sports Daily, right back here at 12 p.m. I'm going to wrap up everything you need to know from Monday's practice tomorrow. See you guys later. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful Monday. Bye, guys.